So lovely to have you here with us in Brussels. I want to urgently ask you many questions about Greenland, but first your thoughts on Iran. What more can the international community do here? What more can the EU do?
Well, I think the steps that has been taken so far, they are, the right steps to say that, well, we're here. Just when the women were hitting the streets, we were there to say, well, we support your cause. And now again, to say, listen, the sanctions, they will be increased. There will be also external pressure because the cries of the Iranians on the streets, the deterioration in their living conditions, the courage that they show, I think that should inspire and impress the rest of the world.
And what about President Donald Trump? His solution is to potentially intervene militarily. Is this something that you would support?
Well, I think that for the Iranians, the solution is not a military solution. It is, of course, for the present regime to step down and for democratic forces to align themselves with a democratic way of ruling the country.
Very challenging indeed.
Yes.
Let's talk about Greenland and Donald Trump's desire to take Greenland. Could he potentially really do that?
Well, I think even for President Trump, for one NATO country to attack another NATO country to acquire territory is really, really far-reaching. And when you look at the asks of security and cooperation on minerals, there is, I think, a very open approach from the Greenlandic government and population, and of course also from a Danish side. And there's been a long-standing cooperation. The treaty with the US goes back to 1951 as when it comes to security.
And what role should the European Union be playing here? What should the Europeans be doing?
Well, Europe has increased its interest for Greenland over the last 10 years. Now there is a representation of the European Commission in Greenland. I think that's really important. There is a memorandum of understanding when it comes to the exploration of critical minerals and rare earth and what have you. So even though Greenland is not part of the European Union, well, it's a relationship that can be increased. And the first steps, they have been taken in previous years.
Well, some previous politicians are today calling for them to be a member, that Brussels should invite them back in. They did reverse their membership back in the day.
I think so many decisions are for the Greenlandic people, for them to take. It's their country. They don't seem to be at all in any kind of mindset to sell their country. If they ever want to join the European Union again, it's for them to start that discussion.
But if Trump did move in, could that be the end of NATO, as some are saying?
Well, I think that is almost, I know that President Trump says that he's not reined in by anything but his own morals. But even for that, to do that for one NATO country to attack another NATO country for territory, that would be, I think, the most existential threat to NATO that we have seen. And also, Denmark was one of the countries who answered the call from the US. The only time the Article 5 have been triggered was when US did that, and Denmark fought and, of course, lost lives and soldiers in that operation.
And with all this talk about Greenland, one would almost forget the big spat between Brussels and Washington, D.C. over tech rules. Who's standing up to Donald Trump here?
Well, I think the important thing is to say, listen, we have realized our dependencies: gas on Russia, critical minerals on China, security on the US, and also technology on the US. So, of course, it's about time for Europe to say, listen, we will enforce our rules for our market to be open and contestable. We will look for European suppliers because there is a European demand. And, of course, we want to live a life that is not, 100% digitally dependent because a society is about the relationship between people.
And what about something that's a big concern for our viewers, that Grok's AI tool that's manipulating image of women and girls? What can the EU do here? We saw a very late response yesterday from the Commissioner.
Well, I think it's really important to be tough on this one because you have this wicked combination of nudity and humiliating women. And basically any woman could be, a victim of this. So I think it's really important to stand up for it, both as people, but of course also win the enforcement with the Commission.
OK, Margrethe Vestager, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your insights on a number of stories. Thank you.